Welcome to Sleepy Time Stories. Hey dear friends, let's continue with the second part of this story. If you haven't listened to the first part yet, visit my channel and listen to it first for the complete experience. Now, get comfortable, relax, and enjoy the story. Crescent moon sparkles. Let your mind drift back now, far away from the rush and noise of today. Let the hours soften and stretch until you find yourself in another time, another life. Imagine a village resting quietly on the western edge of the Great Nile River, tucked behind high cliffs that hide the famous valley where kings are laid to rest. In this village, almost every home has something that feels almost magical, even now. Indoor plumbing for water, not pipes of metal, but clay channels and stone jars, carrying water from a shared well into the rooms where families live. This is the year 1250 before the Common Era, and in this place, nearly everyone, men, women, and even the children, can read and write. At a time when the rest of the world struggles, along with barely 3 out of every 100 people knowing their letters, this little community shines like a lantern in the dark. This village is so well known to people who dig into the earth thousands of years from now that they can tell you the names of the neighbors who argued over a borrowed tool or a damaged bracelet. They have found the recipes that were cooked in clay pots over small fires. They have read love poems that teenagers scratched onto broken pieces of pottery, words meant for someone's eyes only, preserved by accident and time. And they have uncovered the exact day in the year 1157 before the Common Era, when the workers, tired and hungry, simply stopped their labor and walked away. The very first labor strike ever written down in all of human history. This village is real. It still exists today, though now it lies in ruins on the west bank of the Nile, hidden behind those same cliffs that watch over the Valley of the Kings. The Egyptians who lived there called it Pademi, which simply means a village. We call it Deir el-Medina. And today, as you listen, you are going to live there. This is day 2 of 7 in ancient Egypt. Yesterday, on day 1, you were a farmer. You carried heavy mud bricks for the pharaoh's funeral temple. Your bread was coarse and gritty. Your beer was thick and dark. You slept on a reed mat pressed against the floor, your wife beside you, your 3 children curled nearby. But today, everything changes. Today you wake up in a different kind of house. A better one. The walls are whitewashed and smooth to the touch. You have 3 rooms. A main room for eating and sitting, a smaller room for sleeping, and a little cellar dug into the earth where you keep oil and grain and dried fish. And you have a latrine. Yes, a real latrine. Here in 1250 before the Common Era, in a worker's village, a small clay seat with a removable jar underneath. Simple, but so much better than walking out into the cold before dawn. Your job today is something almost no other ordinary man in the world can do. You build royal tombs. You can read hieroglyphs. You live inside one of the strangest, most carefully recorded working communities in the whole ancient world. Using what we have learned from archaeology and old records, we have pieced together what 7 days in ancient Egypt truly felt like. The pyramids and the gold are the picture postcard, but the bread and the small bruises of daily life, those are the truth. If you missed day 1, the farmer's story, you can find it elsewhere. But today, you are a tomb builder. So let us step back together. 3,275 years. Dawn comes gently. The first light slips through the small slit window above your sleeping mat, falling across the painted floor. Your floor is plastered and smooth, then decorated with a simple pattern in red ochre and white. Nothing fancy, just a poor man's mosaic. But it costs almost nothing except a few hours of work, and it will last for a generation. Your father painted this floor when you were just a boy. He died 8 years ago, and every morning when you sit up, the first thing your eyes find is his handiwork. That simple pattern of lines and shapes, made by a man who loved you, who held you when you were small, who taught you how to hold a chisel. You're 38 years old now. You have been a stonemason since you were 12. That is 26 years of hammer and copper and stone. When you flex your hands, you see the story of your life written there. Calluses on the tips of 3 fingers. A deep groove worn into the side of your palm where the wooden mallet rests. You can no longer close your right hand all the way. That started about 2 years ago. You have never mentioned it to anyone, because the day you cannot chisel anymore is the day the village finds another stonemason. So you keep quiet, and you keep working, and you pretend not to notice how your fingers sometimes ache when the air turns cold. The village is small. 68 houses, maybe 65 families, perhaps 400 people in total. Every single one of them works on the same great project. The royal tombs. The men carve, paint, and inscribe the walls of the afterlife. The women keep the homes, weave linen, brew beer, raise the children, and more often, they conduct legal business in their own names. Deir el-Medina is one of the most carefully documented places in the ancient world, and the women here leave a paper trail. Their names appear on legal documents, on lists of property, on complaints and contracts. They are not hidden away. They are part of the daily hum of life. You do not go to the village shrine first. First, you use the latrine, that small clay seat with the jar underneath. Every day, a man comes to empty the jars. His whole job is collecting human waste from the village and carrying it to the fields beyond the cliffs, where it becomes fertilizer. He is not popular exactly, but neither is he low in status. He is a member of the village like everyone else. His children play with your children. The Egyptian way of thinking about such things is simple and practical. Waste becomes fertilizer. Fertilizer grows food. There is no shame in it, only the steady turning of life. You eat your morning meal, bread, beer, a piece of fresh cheese that your wife made yesterday from goat's milk. The cheese is soft and white, a little crumbly, with a sharp, clean taste. You spread it on the bread and add a smear of honey from a small clay pot. The honey comes from the beekeeper 2 houses down. It is dark amber, almost brown, and it tastes faintly of the wild thyme that grows on the cliffs above the village. This breakfast is richer than what the farmer ate yesterday. You notice this without really thinking about it. It is simply the shape of your life now. Mid-morning, you walk to work. The path climbs uphill for about 45 minutes, following a stone route that your grandfather helped pave. Your work crew calls itself the gang, a word that appears in the old records just as it appears in your thoughts. There are 8 men in your gang. You meet them at the village gate, and you all walk together, complaining as you go. The Egyptian word for complaint shows up so often in the surviving documents from Deir el-Medina that archaeologists could practically understand the village's whole mood from that one word alone. You complain about your pay. You complain about the food rations. You complain about the heat. You complain about the chief scribe, whose name is Ramesses, a real name from real records. He is generally fair, you admit, but he cannot seem to give a word of praise without adding some small criticism right afterward. About 100 years from now, in 1157 before the Common Era, your descendants will stage the first labor strike ever recorded. They will walk off the job because their grain rations are late. This is written down in what scholars now call the Turin Strike Papyrus, one of the most important documents from the ancient world. The workers will sit in the temples and refuse to leave. They will chant. They will write petitions. And eventually, they will win. But today, the rations arrived on time, so you walk in good spirits. You arrive at the tomb. It is a new project, a burial chamber being prepared just in case for one of Ramesses II's many sons. He has more than 50 sons by some counts, including children from political marriages, and he prepares tombs for them well in advance. The Egyptians plan for death the way modern people plan for old age. Your job today is detail work on a pillar deep inside the burial chamber. You are carving a figure of Anubis, the jackal-headed god who watches over the dead. The relief is shallow but precise. The line of the snout, the points of the ears, the way the muscles lie across the jackal's chest. You've been a stonemason since you were 12. You are now 38. Your hands know exactly where to place the chisel, even without your eyes having to check the work. The copper tool meets the limestone, and tiny flakes fall away like crumbs from a loaf. You hum while you work. Everyone in your gang hums. The tomb echoes with the soft sound of 8 men working and humming together. The light comes from small oil lamps, their wicks made of twisted linen soaked in animal fat, with a pinch of salt to cut the smoke. Even with the salt, the air grows thick as the hours pass. You work in 8-hour shifts. By the end, your eyes sting and your throat feels coated in dust. You spit black for the next hour. But here is a strange and wonderful thing. You can read. In 1250 before the Common Era, fewer than 5 out of every 100 Egyptians can read or write. But you can. You have to. Your work involves laying out the hieroglyphic inscriptions on the tomb walls, and some of those inscriptions are sacred spells from the Book of Going Forth by Day, which later people will call the Book of the Dead. Getting them wrong would be a religious disaster. So you learn your hieroglyphs as a boy, and now you read them as easily as you breathe. Most of the men in your gang can read too, and so can many of the women in your village. This makes Deir el-Medina one of the most literate communities in the entire ancient world. Archaeologists have found tens of thousands of ostraca here, pieces of broken pottery used as scrap paper. On these shards, people wrote everything: shopping lists, love poems, legal disputes, work attendance records, magical spells, complaints about neighbors, complaints about wives, complaints about husbands. One father wrote a letter to his dead daughter, asking her to please stop haunting the family. A schoolboy practiced his hieroglyphs, and his teacher corrected his mistakes in red ink. A woman recorded exactly how many pieces of jewelry she had lent to a neighbor, listing each piece and noting that 2 came back damaged and she expected to be paid back. This is how the people of Deir el-Medina lived, with a pen in hand, constantly, about everything. The afterlife was not a distant dream here. It was a practical matter. It had paperwork. Midday brings a lunch break. You gather with your gang in the tomb's antechamber, sitting on the cool stone floor. Bread again, beer again, plus a cucumber, some dried fish, and a small handful of figs. Someone tells a joke about the chief scribe. The joke involves a goat. You will not remember tomorrow, but right now, everyone laughs and the sound bounces off the carved walls. While you eat, 2,000 kilometers to the north, in the great Hittite capital of Atusa, the Hittite king is dictating a letter. He is complaining about a recent shipment of Egyptian gold. He believes Ramesses II is cheating him. He is not wrong. The diplomatic letters between Egypt and the Hittites from this period still survive on clay tablets. We can read them. They sound exactly like an irritated manager writing to a supplier who missed a deadline. 2 great empires, 2 powerful kings, grumbling about gold while you sit in a tomb eating a cucumber. The afternoon returns you to your chisel. You work until the foreman bangs a piece of stone against the wall, the signal that the shift has ended. The sound echoes through the chambers, and slowly, the 8 of you gather your tools and walk back toward the entrance, leaving the half-carved Anubis waiting in the lamplight for tomorrow. Evening finds you walking home down the cliff path. The sun hangs low behind you, painting the Valley of the Kings in shades of red and gold. From this height, you can see across the great river to Thebes itself. The painted columns of Karnak Temple catch the last light, glowing red and blue and gold against the desert. Luxor Temple stands a kilometer to the south. Between them runs the Avenue of Sphinxes, 2.5 kilometers long, lined with stone creatures with the bodies of lions and the heads of rams. The smoke of 10,000 cooking fires rises into the darkening sky. Somewhere across the river, the farmer you were yesterday is also walking home. You think of him for a moment, that other life, that other self, and then you turn your eyes back to your own path. You arrive at the village. Your wife greets you at the door. Her name is Eerie, and it is a real name from the old records. A woman who lived around this time appears in 2 ostraca. One lists the jewelry she lent to a neighbor. The other records complaint made by Eerie herself that the same neighbor returned a bracelet with damage. The village court ordered the neighbor to pay compensation. We still have the verdict. Eerie is not just a house worker. She is a person with her own legal identity. She can own property in her own name. She can bring a case to court, and she can be sued in return. She can divorce you if she wishes. She can serve as a witness. If you mistreat her, the village court will hear her side, and the judges are men from the village, your neighbors, people who know both of you. They will not hesitate to rule against you if you are in the wrong. In 1250, before the Common Era, Egyptian women have more legal rights than European women will have until the early 1900s. 3,000 years from now, women will struggle to win back rights that the women of this village already take for granted. You eat dinner together. Bread again, of course, but also a lentil stew cooked with onion and cumin, fish from the morning catch, a small bowl of grapes that came from a vineyard upriver. Your wife traded a length of linen for them earlier in the week. The children are loud around the table. The eldest is a boy of 9. His mother is teaching him to read, and he is much faster at it than you were at the same age. One day, he will take over your work in the tomb. He will be better than you. He already is in some ways. Last week, you watched him copy a passage from a wisdom text, and you noticed with a small, complicated feeling in your chest that his hand was steadier than yours. Pride and something else, something softer and harder at the same time. You eat slowly. You sip your beer. You listen as your wife describes a legal case. She is preparing about the bracelet. You smile. Night comes softly. You climb up to the roof, and eerie follows you. The stars appear one by one, scattered across the dark like grains of salt on a cloth. This is the village. This is where you live. This is where, in the morning, you will rise and walk back up the cliff and carve another small piece of Anubis into the stone. And one day you will die. They will bury you in a small tomb cut into the cliff above the village. A tomb you are carving for yourself on weekends, in your spare time. The Egyptians do that. Even the tomb builders need tombs. And your tomb, that small rough-cut chamber in the limestone, will be discovered 3,000 years from now by people who dig into the earth. They will write academic papers about the patterns of your tool marks, about the angle of your chisel, about the way your hand moved across the stone. They will never know your name, but they will know you were here. You sleep? That was day 2 of 7 in ancient Egypt. The tomb builder of Deir el-Medina, the most carefully recorded working village the ancient world ever produced. A man with a latrine, a literate wife, and a son who will one day be better than him. Tomorrow, on day 3, you will not be a tomb builder. Tomorrow, you will wake before the sun rises. You will bathe 3 times. You will shave every hair from your body. And you will perform a ritual that, if done even slightly wrong, the priests believe will cause the whole universe to fall apart. You will be a priest at Karnak, and you will dress a god. Day 3 waits for you elsewhere. But for now, rest here in this quiet village, with the stars above and the cool night air on your face. Let the ancient world hold you gently. Thank you for listening to Ancient Tales for Sleep, now a part of your bedtime journey. If you enjoyed the second day, if the story helped you find a moment of peace in your busy life, please consider subscribing so you do not miss the remaining days. Drop a comment below if you like, telling us what surprised you most about the Egyptian priesthood, or simply telling us that you are here, that you are listening, that you are finding your way toward rest. As always, dear friends, we will see you in the past, in the quiet hours before dawn, in the small rooms where the world is held together by careful hands. Until then, let your breathing be slow, let your body be heavy, let your mind be still. We're already working on the next part, and we'll upload it soon. Good night and sweet dreams.